Hello everyone, my name is Mary Kurek and I live in the United States. I'm the founder of a global business development agency that embraces and focuses on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, particularly number 17, which is all about partnerships to accomplish the other 16 goals. It is my pleasure to offer my story to women across the world, and I'd like to do this by sharing it kind of like a book of tiny chapters. So chapter 1 is the thank you that became the spool. At 18 years old, I served as a page in the North Carolina legislature. I fetched coffee and ran messages for our state's lawmakers, and when the week-long program was over, I did what my mother taught me to do, show gratitude. I took a thank you note and a token gift to the office of the Lieutenant Governor, who presided over the Senate. That afternoon, he called me up in front of the Senate and told me I was the only page who had ever thanked him. He asked me to work on his gubernatorial campaign later that year. Gratitude. This was the spool from which the thread of my story unwinds. So chapter 2 is the thread of many colors. The thread from my spool started when that lieutenant governor won his election, and I went on to work as the youngest member of the governor's staff. I was 19, and the press office was my work home. Speeches, news releases, statements, press conferences, and proclamations were the tools of our department. More political campaigns followed, and then something happened that removed the geographical four walls of the sphere of my existence. What happened was family. Having a baby interrupted things, and when I was trying to reconnect to my thread, it didn't look like it did before. Women are used to how building families can redirect us, right? So the next chapter is called Global Presence at My Dinner Table. Somehow I made my way to a cultural exchange program and had the opportunity to travel to South America. I learned then what it felt like to be pointed at and whispered about my hair color and my pale skin with freckles. But what really was happening was a sort of preparation for a job I'd have next with an international program that brought foreign dignitaries to our area. I constructed their professional connections in the area during their visits and handpicked the most interesting visitors to invite to my home for dinner. And what I discovered was not just that relationships develop really nicely when you share a meal, but that developing relationships with people from other places reveals something about ourselves, good or bad, and helps us to become better people regardless. It was global relationship building with doctors from China, a finance editor from India, women legislators from Johannesburg, and a tribal chief from Botswana. Well, it started right there for me. A 29-year-old woman from a small town who grew up so shy that she wouldn't raise her hand, in class. And here I was entertaining dignitaries at dinner with some of them not even being able to speak English. Well, sharing my home, my dinner table, opened my heart to real connection with people from different areas of the world. People who were different from me. So the next chapter is learning leadership as a young woman in a military place. Since I apparently needed to learn a bit about leadership in my early 30s, it was arranged by the source of all knowing that my husband at the time would find someone else. And we would divorce, and I would move back home to my small hometown and take the job as executive director of my hometown Chamber of Commerce. This small town was the home to the world's largest Marine Corps air station. Most of my board members were active or retired officers who create action by command, not so much by consensus. Developing leadership muscles was challenging for a woman in this environment, but I needed it to grow and grow into spaces where strong male counterparts would need a little softer but very competent facilitator. Everything new and challenging has meaning. I look at it as preparation. Next chapter, the great escape to self and finding my tribe. After getting comfortable with being the woman in charge among a lot of male colleagues entrenched in business, commerce, and community development, I was ready to write a book, jump into entrepreneurship, and do my own thing. Multitudes of starts without finishes followed. And then I fell into social entrepreneurship and knew it was a fit. From there, I ended up unwinding my thread a little bit, just to find out what I was really good at, what I had learned, and what I should be doing. You know, what I learned: media, yes, check mark. Building global relationships, got that. And a lot of connection. Understanding that connecting people is kind of like connecting dots. You've just got to know a little bit of information to get the two to work out. Leadership, of course, in difficult places. You know, I did all of this as a woman in places where in my area of the world was not really common. I set out to become the facilitator that I felt pulled to become, connecting the world's problem solvers to people who need them. But when I drilled down, my deepest purpose was to build little bridges of peace. So this next chapter has a little bit of a twist. The facilitator becomes facilitated. God has a great sense of humor and loves it when you think you've got everything all figured out. So this shy girl from a small town was proud, really proud of herself when she could get up in front of a crowd of even 5, right? And had finally written a business networking book and had garnered the endorsement of the American Business Women's Association, had hit the speaking circuit, hosted her own local television show, acted on stage, launched an impact-focused media platform, and even facilitated business introductions between diplomats and innovators around the globe. By the way, we have views from 160 countries during the course of a year for that media platform and about 80 during the course of a month. And I've developed relationships now with people from about 67 different countries. So, wow, I'm impressed with myself. But what now, right? Never ask that, by the way. Enter God, whose timing on redirection is ridiculously on target. Off and on through the years, I've kind of known he was pulling the thread. But, you know, lately, I'd say in the last few years, I just tried to get out of my own way and let myself be led by the one who's facilitating me. I highly recommend doing the same because there are going to be times when you really need to listen to your source, like when your mother needs institutionalized care, or a son finds himself in jail, and a spouse develops a serious illness. All of our ideals and dreams don't seamlessly work into these tough spots in life. Sometimes our self-driven need to rescue and nurture can be our own enemy. I know from personal experience. So not fighting disruption created gaps for reinvention for me, exploration, and a way to become a real service to others. So in closing, here's my commentary on equality, since we're talking about women and women's ascension, and how this relates to my own thread. I can give you stats from the United States on equality for women, but honestly, we all know that the stats are just a benchmark that shows the goal is unmet. The bottom line is, while we're all getting better with the equality issue, we're still crawling. And it's not just about leadership roles and fair salaries in the corporate or governance world. You know, it's about, fair and equal treatment. In my thread, you'll find a married board member who sexually harassed me, a male boss whose excuse on why I didn't get a raise and everyone else in the office did was that I didn't ask for it. Another male boss who was such a womanizer, I had to caution female visitors to not sit next to him before they entered his office. One more male boss who played mind games with his staff to the point of bringing them to tears and walking out. I was one of them. 4 more followed right behind me that same day. Women are still dealing with these crazy situations, so no wonder so many of us want to be self-employed or entrepreneurs. But my message to you is, I personally tend to think, and this is my own personal opinion, that males have so much of their lives already planned out. In my case, because I had 2 younger brothers, my father thought, they'd end up needing to go to college to learn how to make a living and, take care of families. I wasn't offered a college education. I was offered, a diploma-based, secretarial class, but I wasn't offered a 4-year college education. Because of that, I had to rely on learning by doing, by grabbing hold of the talents that I knew that I had, and trying to follow that thread that was becoming my story. So my words of wisdom are this: pay attention to your own thread. It's a huge part of your story. Bust out of your comfort box and surround yourself with good people, because they'll bring you more. and allow yourself the gift of divine guidance for all things, because especially as we move forward as women and knocking down all these barriers and breaking these glass ceilings and things that we're doing, you need to learn to feel that you are supported, and that the ultimate support comes from maybe a spiritual source and not, an outward source of another human being. So this morning on my beach walk, I was reminded about a quote by a well-known American poet and philosopher, Henry David Thoreau. It seems appropriate to leave you with this here. If one advances confidently in the direction of his dreams and endeavors to live the life which he has imagined, he will meet with success unexpected in common hours. Well, I think that kind of says it all. Follow your heart, follow your soul, love everyone. This is, the sisterhood of women around the world, and good wishes and blessings to all women front runners. God bless you. Thank you. Bye-bye.